All right. Good morning, y'all. It's Ty from Lambda School, and today I'll be going over the linked list cycle. Create a function that returns true if linked list contains a cycle or false if it terminates. Usually we assume that a linked list will end with a null next pointer. So node A points to B, B's next is C, C's next is D, D's next is E, and E's next is null. That will be the end of the linked list, and that list has no cycles, as opposed to a cyclical, a cyclical linked list. A cycle in a linked list will traverse the list, would result in visiting the same nodes over and over again. This is caused by pointing a node in the list to another node that already appeared earlier in the list. For example, A points to B, to C, to D, to E, back to B. Example code would be const node A's new node A, and then B's next of A, C's next to B, D's next to C, E is next to D. And then if you run has cycle on node A, right now it would have false. But then when you set E's next to B, has cycle becomes true. Our constraints. Do this in linear time, so O of n. Do this in constant space, so no building an object up and having, like B equals B, C equals C, or D equals true, or whatever. So you can't have a never expanding object. And constraint 3, do not mutate the original nodes in any way. Hint, search for Floyd's tortoise and hare method. So the theory goes, if you have a cycle in your linked list, your hare will go 2 for every one that the tortoise goes. They'll eventually land together, and that means that it is true, or the hare will hit the end first, in which case that is false. All right, so how did you guys do on this coding challenge? On this message, go ahead and emote check if you've got it, X if you didn't. This right here, check if you got it, X if you didn't. Whoops. All right. Cool. So FT2. All right. I'm not hearing anything from the FT2 side of class. All right, cool. This was difficult, it seems, for everyone. All right, so first things first. So let's do this. Cool. And then first thing we'll do is define node as a class. I guess we need a constructor passing in node, and then every node has to have this dot value, which will equal node, and then this dot next is going to equal null. All right, and then we define has cycle. As arrow function that takes in a node. And this should be relatively straightforward. Here, let me give you a quick drawing example. So if we had A, B, C, D, E, and we started the hare on top and the tortoise on the bottom. Hare, the first iteration of this program will have H there and tortoise here. And then the next iteration will have H here and tortoise here. And then the next iteration will find that this points to null. So the program kills itself and returns false because has cycle is because this program does not have a cycle, or this linked list rather does not have a cycle. So this will return false. Now in the other case, where if we undo a bunch of times, and then we have our E pointing to B, our first iteration will have the hair go here, the T go here. And then the next iteration, H will go here, T will go here. And then the next iteration points to B, so H will go back here, T will go here. And the next iteration will have H go there and T go here. And then since the hare and the tortoise are in the same spot, we know that there is a loop, or that the linked list has a cycle. Clear all drawing. Cool. And then here we will let slow, let fast, and then a do while loop. And what we're going to do here is first check if, actually let's do this, equals head, and then do while loop. If fast dot next equals null, return false. And then if that doesn't run, then we can do fast dot, or equals fast dot next. And then the same thing, if fast dot next equals null, return false. If that doesn't run, we can set fast equals fast dot next. We can set slow equals slow dot next. And then we can close so that while, so since we're using a do while loop, the do means that it'll run it the first time before it checks the while statement. So we can do that while slow does not equal fast. And should it return, actually, hang on. So let's see, we run a do, we run a while, and then we return true if it ever breaks out of that while loop. This message, check if you're following X if you're lost. Check if you're following X if you're lost. All right, that was a pretty rapid turnaround. I'm glad to see that from CS1. How about FT2? All right, same amount of responses. 75% participation. All right, that's fine. We'll live with that. All right, so let's code it out. Class node, constructor node, this dot value is equal to node, this dot next is equal to null, const has cycle, it takes in a head, goes arrow function. And then in here, we're gonna let slow equals head, let fast equals head, and then do if fast.next equals null, return false, fast equals fast.next, and then the same if statement, if fast.next equals null, return false, fast equals fast.next, slow equals slow.next, while slow doesn't equal fast. And then if we ever break out of that return or that while cycle, that means slow does equal fast, and we can return true. All right, so let's code it out, or let's run the test. So const node A is going to equal new node. We're going to pass in A, then A.next is new node B, B, new node next C, C is D, D is E. Right now, A goes through E without a cycle. It should return false, clear and run. Returns false, and then we do node E.next equals B, so we have it in the cycle. Now, console.log has cycle A should return true, and it does. All right. Anyone want to bring anything up real quick? Or want to share their code? Maybe we can troubleshoot it since we breezed through this so quickly.
I can share if you want. I did it a little differently. I didn't define a class, so that's I think part of the issue.
Give you that one if you want it.
Yeah, I just throw that in here. Let's.
Actually, I'm just gonna throw. Give me a second, Eli. Don't paste yours yet. All right, now you can paste yours, Eli. All right, cool. I've posted the solution, and then let's look at this. Turtle hair list, while turtle is true and hair is true and hair.next is true. The only time you could possibly run into an issue with that code, Eli, is if your hair.next. Actually, that should be fine, right? Because you do check for hair.next. Yeah, that should be totally functional. Let's try it. And you don't call it has cycle, so paste it here. With the same amount of lines, clear and run, false and true. All right, well, Eli, it looks like your code was functional as well. Cool. So how does everyone feel about the Floyd's tortoise and hare method? Well, I guess better question is, does anyone have any issues with Floyd's algorithm? No? All right, cool. I'm going to end the recording here. Thank you for your time, guys and girls and everyone in between. And y'all will need to get together before the sprint review, give each other feedback. And then get ready for the sprint review. Catch y'all around.